Hi, and welcome to Fiction Technician. I'm Jane Calmus, and I'm the laziest writer in the world. I mean, that is really how I felt until I started digging into the psychology of work and trying to figure out exactly why I sometimes had so much difficulty putting words on the page. But now I'm beating writer's block, not in every minute of my working life, but every day, consistently. This is not the video about the one amazing tip that means you'll never have writer's block again. It's about the system of thought that means that when you do experience indecision about how to proceed with your work or anxiety about performing your work, you'll have an idea of how to get yourself back on track. We're going to talk about flow. Flow is the name given by psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi to describe that state of utter absorption where the world seems to drift away and it's just you alone with your work. It's flowing out of you effortlessly. And sometimes we call this being in the zone. But I don't need to go on because you've been there. The problem is that we often feel like we're not in control of our flow. Another name we have for this state is feeling inspired. And we feel that inspiration strikes or is received. It certainly isn't summoned or constructed. But that's what I wanted to do. And so I read Flow by Csikszentmihalyi and learned all about the 8 aspects of flow, the things typically reported by people who have a flow experience. And those are clear goals. You know what you want to do, not just overall, but at each step along the way. Immediate feedback. As soon as you complete a task, you know whether it brought you closer to your overall goal. Challenges that match your skills. You're neither bored nor frustrated. You're existing at this kind of delightful place between mastery and stretching yourself. Focus and concentration. The world disappears. Distractions are no longer pulling at you. Control. A loss of self-consciousness. And the distortion of time. You can work for hours without even noticing that so much time has passed. So, when I first started trying to engineer more flow into my work, I had the idea of trying to replicate these states. Maybe if I just tick all these boxes, then hey, I'm going to be in flow. And one of my early ideas was to allow time to disappear. If I'm supposed to lose track of time and lose myself in my work, maybe I shouldn't have my clock staring me in the face on my computer screen. So I disappeared that clock. I set a timer on my phone so that I'd know when to go pick up my kids, and no, didn't like it. Irritating. I actually thought more about time because I didn't know what time it was. And so I went back to the list. I looked at it and I realized that it's really describing a couple of things. Some of these items are the actual causes of flow. Others are simply descriptions of what flow feels like once we're in it. So here's how I'd lay it out. The causes of flow are clear goals, focus, a loss of self-consciousness, and challenges that are appropriate to our skills. All these together add up to flow, in which the distractions of the world and time itself seem to recede from us and we're left feeling in control. Okay, but if you're paying attention, you notice that I left one out. That's immediate feedback. And I'd put that one right back here. I'd say that immediate feedback on the success of our tasks clears the way for the loss of self-consciousness that is crucial to flow. Here's the way I see it. We've got this surgeon, and let's say he's just clamped a bleeding artery. Now, he's got all these thoughts in his head guiding his process, like wondering what's the next step, how is the patient doing, how's the timeline. But the one thing he's not thinking is, did I really clamp that? He knows he did, because the surgical cavity is no longer filling with blood. He's got immediate feedback on the success of his task, and that's good, because did I really clamp that is a distraction from the questions he needs to be asking himself. And it's also strongly related to, am I competent? Which can sadly spiral into a escalating experience of self-doubt and anxiety, where he wonders, should I even be a doctor? Am I going to kill this guy? Maybe I should just get out of here and run. Okay, what about us writers? Do we ever get immediate feedback? We do, but we don't have a reliable source for it. The only immediate feedback we're ever going to get is from our own brains. If you've ever written something and thought, yeah, that's good, or it's all right, but I think it needs another level of polish, that's immediate feedback. It's not caused by anything that happened in the physical world, like the surgeon with his bleeder. It's caused by your own judgment. The more you read and the more you write, the quicker and more reliable and more intuitive your judgment will become, and you'll get that feeling of immediate feedback more often. But it's a long-term solution, born of experience, so we're not even going to worry about it today. We are just going to press on the 4 buttons that we can tackle in the near term, and those are clear goals, focus, a loss of self-consciousness, and choosing appropriate challenges. Tip number 1 is one of my favorites, and it's one I use every day. Drill down. If you don't know how to proceed with a task, if it just feels very muddy and hazy and unapproachable, chances are it's too big a bite for right now. You need to drill down to a more granular level and tackle the underlying task. So my goal for right at this moment does not need to be write the scene where my protagonist meets her lover. It can be write the paragraph where she first sees him across the room. And if that still seems a little unclear, I can write a list of 5 observations she might have about him. And if that is still a little difficult to approach, I can go back to my character sketch, ask myself, have I really defined this character and what he looks like, his hairstyle, what he's likely to be doing in this moment? Okay, but what if you're already working on a really granular task, like writing the next line of dialogue? In that case, I usually find that the underlying task I have left undone is defining the purpose for this line of dialogue. Am I trying to amuse? Am I advancing a relationship or the plot? Once I've tackled that underlying task, it's generally much easier to return to that line of dialogue and know exactly what I need to say. And if all else fails, my drill down of last resort is generally the list of 5. I come up with 5 possibilities for that line or the next action, and generally, once I get to 3, I know what it needs to be. Tip number 2 deals with focus. I'm not the first person to give you this advice, and I won't be the last. Eliminate distractions. Work in a clean room, and whatever your personal digital crack is, be it app or game or social media, get it out the door. If you can discipline yourself to ignore it, that's awesome. If you can't, you're not alone, and realize that it's not an indictment on your work ethic. It's more of an indictment on the general addictive nature of these pastimes. You can use an app like Cold Turkey or Freedom, which I'll link in the description below, to limit your access to the web. You can whitelist sites that you need for your work, and you can blacklist sites that are particular time sucks for you. I also like to arrive at work with no distractions in my head. I used to listen to an audiobook on the way to the library where I write, but I won't do this anymore because when I arrive at my computer, I want to have only my book in my head. I don't want anything pulling at me and making me wonder or drift away from my work. So what I will do instead is I will listen to a research text related to the work of the day, or perhaps an inspirational writing text, and that helps me arrive at work ready to do my job. Tip number 3 addresses that all-important loss of self-consciousness, which can be so difficult for us writers. We frequently have questions in our head about, did I really sell that metaphor? Have I given people enough reason to care about my character? When that happens, I like to concentrate on the experience I am having, not on my performance. This is kind of the most difficult tip to convey because it sounds like I'm saying, well, just don't be self-conscious then. And that is actually very close to what I'm trying to say. I'm saying that with your mental eye, you should look away from those questions about how you're performing by looking toward the questions that will guide your process. What is the best adjective here? What is the action you could take that would be most revelatory of character? My next tip is a little bit radical. Disregard word count. We hear a lot online about quotas. You should make sure you get 1,000 words done a day, 2,000 words. And in my heart, I am a quota girl. I started this whole project specifically because I wanted more words on the page. But here's the problem. I also want them to be good words. And when we measure our success based on how many words we got done today, it sort of crowds out the parts of writing that are likely to be most joyous and also that are most likely to lead to excellence. You want to be noodling around and digging into your thesaurus and coming up with the kind of surprising, intuitive decisions that only come from an intimate knowledge of your story. And that's sort of the enemy of focusing on your word count. Focusing on word count can also lead to strong feelings of self-consciousness. So what I do now is I don't pay attention to it. But I still care about it. And so I monitor it without paying it the slightest attention. I do that by working in Scrivener. And in the menu, I go to Project, Writing History. And then I can see exactly how many words I got done over the month and each day. And so I have data to show that when I don't worry about word count, my word count goes up. My last tip is another favorite, and it may be the simplest of all. Question why you're not in flow. If you find yourself in a really blocky, kludgy kind of place with your writing, ask yourself, am I dealing with some distractions? Am I feeling self-conscious? Am I perhaps so self-conscious that I'm seeking out distractions so I can avoid committing to my work? Are my goals a little unclear, or have I perhaps chosen a challenge that doesn't match what I have to bring to bear? When I first started this video, I was really in flow. I was writing well and quickly and happily, and then I got to a place where I had too many ideas. I had so many sections that I wanted to write, and I couldn't see which one should go first. How should I organize this? And I actually got up from the desk and put my hands up here, and I was like, I'm the worst. So I had a loss of clear goals, which led to a loss of flow and a catastrophic return of self-consciousness. But I took a moment to realize that organization was a task that could be done later. Right now, all I needed to do was write the various sections in my head, and the first task of that was to write a list of them. So I rescued my flow in a matter of minutes, and I really hope these tips will help you get more flow into your writing life and thereby more joy into it as well. If you liked this video, please like this video and pass it on to anybody who you think could benefit from it. If you never want to miss a video from me, you can hit the subscribe button and click that little bell icon. That'll make sure you get a notification every time I upload. Thank you for watching.